Hello to my fellow citizens of Burgerlandia. I hope you enjoyed your Independence Day festivities, and I just missed my start boost on purpose. So there's this image that I really like. Panels 1 and 2. Gamer Gary 12 steps out of cover to shoot a pistol at a tank and instantly disappears. Panel 3. Gary is scrub quoting on the subreddit. And Panel 4. Tanks are nerfed and pistols are buffed. Tale as old as time. I like this image a lot because being someone that cares about games and competition in games, I feel like I see Gary about once every 15 seconds whenever my computer is turned on. But Gary isn't real. He doesn't exist in the way that you or I exist. Gary is a rhetorical device created by someone who was probably mad when they posted this comic. And sometimes I think about how easy it would be for someone to take a disingenuous screen cap of me and turn me into Gary. Like, all Gary did was ask a fucking question, man. In most of the spaces that I hang out in, Gary's post would have been followed by 7,000 comments, all calling him a fucking moron. So you guys remember pre-nerf Ultimate Charge, right? Like, even at the time, it wasn't the fastest set in the game, nobody was running it in time trial. But it was fast enough, you know? Like, nobody cared that it wasn't the fastest set in the game because it could still obviously stay with the pack using items in Slipstream. And while you were with the pack, your odds were way better than everyone else's because all of the terrible things that could happen to them couldn't happen to you. Well, we live in a post-Ring Engine world, and the definition of fast enough has changed. But the incentives that made Ultimate Charge strong haven't really changed that much, it's just that the margins have gotten thinner. Instead, people have to try newer, less reliable, less effective ways of mitigating the risk of those item hits. They're trying to pair up with Slipstream buddies, they're trying to deliberately attack early in order to split the pack, and you just watched me break on purpose for the whole race to try and hold on to my laser for long enough to steal first, which I did. Now, I originally had a really long and laborious explanation of why being in the back can be beneficial to your overall placement, but like, you guys are smart, you understand how this works. You get strong items, you dodge a lot of chaos. Especially in the early game, there's not actually that many bad things that can happen to you in the back, because everybody's still tight and all the power items are still restricted. It makes sense, is what I mean. It's a good strategy, in air quotes. But, like, it's not a very complex strategy, is it? I'm driving badly on purpose, but you could get the exact same effect by driving badly on accident. I think a 10-year-old could do this with probably some degree of reliability. Could they get to top 100 this way? No, absolutely not. No matter how down you are on CrossWorlds, that is a completely unreasonable thing to believe. But I think you can probably agree that they have a chance of getting to Emerald, right? Or at least like mid-platinum. The type of rating where you start showing up in the games of actual 2100s just to be a gigantic fucking obstacle. Like, I've seen people rated 1900 who are wearing quick recovery and 3 evolution gadgets. That is a very different experience than people insisting you can't win without the meta. That guy does not know what's going on. And that's weird, right? Like, no matter how good the top 24 are, they're not immortal, even if they're gonna end up flying out to New York in October. All of them are vulnerable to John Monster Truck just randomly lagging onto their screen and ruining their day. Does this quality make the game better, or more interesting, or more fun? I mean, maybe for John Monster Truck in the moment. But if the game's strongest players can lose that way despite using every trick and tool at their disposal to avoid it, think about how often it decides the races of people who aren't up that high. Every time a new Legend competition starts, I get placed in gold, and for a couple of races, I get to watch 11 caged animals beat each other to death with giant hammers, while I just politely leave and see none of them ever again. And when they watch me disappear into the stratosphere as they get bombarded with 17,000 green gloves, I bet they feel a lot like Gary, man. Literally, what the fuck am I supposed to do in this situation? I feel like the discourse around this game has shifted a lot recently, and it's been pretty frustrating for me to watch. I'm not going to put anybody up on the screen because I am just so tired of the cycle of quote retweets. Nothing that happens on Twitter is real. but people will post some innocuous little clip where they get hit by 17 monster trucks and waits on the last turn, and somebody will always be there to post something like, well, you didn't have any protection, so what did you expect? Or, well, you really shouldn't have used that item there. And that advice is, like, relevant and correct, but I gotta let it out somewhere. You suck so fucking bad if you say this. I just don't know what else to tell you. It feels like such a deliberate misunderstanding of the real grievance that it's on purpose. You're gonna sit here and watch 2,000 rated players die every single session to shit that nobody can reasonably control, but because they managed to play like 5% better EV than your average Joe, it somehow becomes okay for you to tell them, well, actually, there was something you could do that was completely uninteresting and runs completely counter to the entire reason people play racing games. Have you considered that? Like, yes, I think probably people have, because they're confronted with the consequences of people employing that strategy every 45 fucking seconds, man. What are you doing? Stop. Like, the counterplay exists, sure. There's no reason to argue that it doesn't. The top-rated players are top-rated because they make choices that lead to good results more often than the rest of us. And because they play more in some cases, but different conversation. But the variance has been cranked up so high by mechanics that seem so obviously arbitrary that it breaks the connection between your performance in an individual game and the rewards you receive for it. It asks for a lot of mental resilience from the player, and for what exactly? Who exactly benefits from the game's most invested players trying to play 16 hours a day for 3 weeks straight in an environment that flatly refuses to acknowledge their skill in anything but the most indirect drip feed sense? In conclusion, Legend Competition 6 is fuck.
There was nothing interesting about the way that I had just played. Nothing elegant, nothing creative, nothing skillful or inventive or exciting. 10-year-old observably and provably will do this on accident. Starting comeback items that travel 3 times longer than they should does not make you Sun Tzu, it makes you a gambling addict. But if you actually believe that the strategy space in between coin flip in the front and coin flip in the back is interesting, delete your computer. This fucking sucks, man.